I'm thankful I get to spend a few minutes sharing about Young Life. It's when I talk about Young Life, the ministry, it's this massive, like, international parachurch organization, thousands of staff, millions of life. But when we talk about it, it's not this abstract idea. For myself and my family, it has really completely changed our lives. So Eric and I have both shared our testimony up here before. We both came to a relationship with Jesus through Young Life. And really, when we say through Young Life, we just mean people involved in Young Life ministry who cared enough to show up to the high schools we were going to care about us, and to tell us about Jesus, who pursued us, who shared the gospel with us, and then remained invested in our lives for years and years after that. So when we talk about Young Life in this abstract, that's what it is. It's people going to teenagers and sharing the gospel with them. Erica and I were teenagers in Young Life. We were leaders in Young Life. We've been on committee and boards. And then Erica's leading again. And our house has become a little bit of the hub of Young Life. So we're kind of diving back in, even though we've been involved in a way that, it's been a while since we've been at that level. But that's really, again, the story of Young Life. People sacrificially pursuing teenagers to not only share the gospel with them, but to show up as a caring adult in the middle of, like, the crazy, messy, profound time of being a teenager. I want to share the story of the beginning of Young Life, because that's illustrative of, like, really what it's all about. It started in the early 1930s, actually, with a prayer of a mom who went to a church, and across the street from the church was a high school, and there were teenagers at the high school who would never, ever cross the street to the church so that they could hear about Jesus. And so this mom prayed, and actually a story of patience. 6 years later, Jim Rayburn, who founded Young Life, showed up to work at the church and shared that vision. To share the gospel with teenagers who might not otherwise ever hear it, ever show up at a church to hear it. And so they started showing up at that high school, and they showed up, this is the story, they showed up again and again and again, over and over, really focusing on forming authentic friendships with teenagers, regardless of where they were on their faith journey, and then clearly explaining the life-changing gospel and a relationship with Jesus. And from that, in Texas, actually Seattle was oddly very early on in the ministry, because there was some connection there. So Young Life in Seattle started in the early 1950s. First place Young Life was in Seattle was Nathan Hale High School in downtown Seattle. And today, like I mentioned, Young Life's this international ministry. It's in over 100 countries. There's over 5,000 staff members, 60,000 volunteer leaders, and millions of kids, even today. Just if you think about the kids known by Young Life today, it's in the millions. But millions over the years have had a chance to hear about Jesus. So why does our family love Young Life? I mean, I think it comes from, that's where Eric and I met Jesus, and so it's dear to our hearts. But we also see it plays a critical role in the world, and importantly in our own community, with sharing the gospel. Young Life goes to where kids are, the high schools. I don't totally know where all the kids hang out today. They used to hang out at certain places I was used to, and now they hang out in different, sometimes at their home. So every generation of Young Life has to figure out where the kids are hanging out. But they go there, and they care for the kids, and they create authentic relationships, and then they share the gospel. Like, it's a pretty simple formula. And then they continue to walk with them no matter what decision they make about their faith. Erica and I have had, kids that we still know, we're still close to. They've never made a decision for Jesus, but we walk with them through life regardless. The verse that Young Life talks about this, but also we're experiencing it now as Erica's leading, as Lucas is involved, as Leah is involved in the middle school ministry. 1 Thessalonians 2:8, this is, because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. And I think it's a beautiful picture of not just sharing the gospel, but entering into the lives of someone in our community. The last thing I'll say about Young Life in general is partnerships with churches are super, super critical, which is why I'm up here. Young Life exists to introduce kids to Jesus and to form disciples, and a critical part of that. Young Life is not the church, and so when we think about kids coming to Young Life, meeting Jesus, we want to get them plugged into a church community. That's where they get real Christian community. That's where they can go in college and young adult and for the rest of their lives. And so partnership with the church is really important when we introduce someone to Jesus and they make a decision to follow Jesus. We want to get them plugged into a church. So we have partnerships with churches in Sammamish-Issaquah and in Bellevue and really all over the city. And I think that's it. In the next few weeks, you're going to hear a little bit more about Young Life. Erica's going to share about what she's doing as a leader. And then Fortune, who's another leader at Issaquah, is going to share a little bit more about leading Young Life. So appreciate the time. And if you have any questions, you can ask me about Young Life. Thanks. Oh, and happy birthday, Lucas. It's his birthday today.